So my dad very much incorporated us into everything he was doing on the mission field. He just wanted his kids with him. That's a big part of it, is being together and doing stuff together, whether or not it's efficient, whether or not you're yielding amazing fruits.
I think you got to have the buy-in too, and you get that when you include your family. You get the buy-in for when the difficult times come. Everybody has a piece of the pie, and that they're all in on it together.
Welcome, my friends, to Generations. Kevin Swanson with you today, and another installment of Discipleship for Dads with the usual suspects. We have Todd Strasser, Bill Roach, Danny Craig, and myself, yours truly, Kevin Swanson. And we want to address the matter of family economy today, and we want this to extend. Actually, family economy has everything to do with who the family is and what the family does and what the vision for the family is going to be for each and individual family. And obviously, there are going to be different visions for different families. That's one reason why we panel these sorts of discussions. But this answers the question of what do you do with a 12-year-old? Give him 5 hours of boring schoolwork on any given day and then reward him with 8 hours of computer games for the rest of the day so that when he's 28 years of age, he's still playing computer games. Okay.
In his mom's basement.
We have come to the conclusion that that's a recipe for disaster that's only been proven 1 billion plus times around the world. So we've experimented with that, and it doesn't work. So what's the plan B? There's got to be a plan B. I need an amen about right now.
Amen. And the way I like to think about this is, would you agree that the family is disintegrating?
Yes.
In America.
Yes.
In America.
And the character of children disintegrating.
Yeah.
And the entire socioeconomy of an entire nation, in fact, entire civilization, coming apart at the seams. And as I see, it's time for plan B.
Right. And why is it disintegrating? I think it's because it's disintegrating, meaning we need to reintegrate.
It's separation.
It's separation.
God's made this beautiful institution by the family, and it's to be a powerhouse of all kinds of ministry and business and all kinds of things. But when you separate everybody, it can't happen.
And I'm sure our listeners have heard this before, but Karl Marx said, yes, we disintegrate the family. We are here to abolish the family by abolishing the family economy. So this has been in the works for a long time, not just by communism, but by our capitalist structures, our university system. All of the institutions, virtually all the institutions of the modern age have worked very hard to disintegrate the family. And that's not going to work. That's going to destroy the family. It's going to destroy the character of the next generation. It's going to destroy family relationships. It's going to destroy human society. Therefore, we need a plan B. So what is a plan B? It turns out the family economy comes from the word economics. Actually, the word economics comes from two Greek words, oikos and nomia. Oikos is family, and nomia is law, family law, or family vision. So economics is a family vision. The basic economic unit is not the state, obviously. The basic economic unit is not the individual.
Or the corporation.
My career working for the corporation. No. The basic economic unit is the family. And the family is a team. And we function as a team. Now, that's not to say that family economy is merely quid pro quo or, run out there, do a family business. No. We're talking about everything the family does, everything the family is envisioned to do, everything the individual family is called by God to do, which includes the big picture of everything we are, everything we're doing to serve the community, everything we're doing to raise children, everything we're doing to do hospitality, everything we're doing to bring an income into the family, everything we're doing to prepare our sons and our daughters to be economically viable and actually functioning economically in the macroeconomy.
Right, and I think the goal is fruitfulness.
Yes,
it's
that's a
not
good one.
just
Yes.
about making more money.
And
or
that fruitfulness is
starting a-
way more than economy.
Yes, yeah. The fruitfulness
business,
involves the
financial outcomes.
serving, and it could involve making money or resources for the family. But God wants fruit in our lives, and so this is just about organizing everybody in such a way that everybody can be as fruitful as possible.
And the first step, I think, is to realize that, Tag, you're it. As a father, especially, and as a mother, we are called to lead a family, to organize a family, to reintegrate a family, and to get the family doing stuff. Does that make sense, Danny?
Yeah.
You give us a synopsis.
Yeah, for us, it starts with a unified vision. The world is constantly asking, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
All of the career mindset, life planning stuff is almost entirely individualistic. When's the last time you read something that said, well, what do you want to be as a couple? How do you want to serve the Lord together as a couple? I mean, the world just doesn't think in those terms. And so for us practically, okay, we don't have a family business per se. I mean, I have a business, but Megan's not integrated in that in the day to day. But by God's grace, we want Megan and me to be a lean, mean, dominion-taking machine in all aspects. And so that starts with a vision that's, this is convicting, bigger than just my self-centered narcissistic dreams, right? This is how does God want me to love Megan, and then how does God want to use our marriage to bless our children, to bless the world around us? How does he want us to use our family, marriage, and children to bless the church, our neighbors? And it just keeps going.
And this is biblical roots to it. Let's say that from the beginning.
Yeah.
This is biblical, friends. I mean, we begin with the heart of her husband safely trusts in her so that he shall have no need to spoil. It doesn't say the heart of her corporate boss safely trusts in her so that they shall have no need to spoil. No. The heart of her husband safely trusts in that woman so that the household economy, that the father's economy, the husband's economy will not see the spoil. And that's Proverbs 31, but also the fourth commandment. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, and seventh is a Sabbath for the Lord your God. You shall not work, you nor your son, your daughter, or your manservant, maidservant, etc. So the assumption is that your son and your daughters are engaging in the household economy. And you as a father are overseeing it and being sure that they work, yes, but they also take the Sabbath. And that's the heart and the soul of the Old Testament Sabbath.
Yeah. And I just want to say to the dads out there that might be listening, when my children were young and I was in the corporate world and I first heard of this idea, I thought it meant, I got to go start a business in the basement, like knitting socks or something, and that's going to provide, and that's the answer. That's not what this is at all. And I finally learned that. But, you do what you can when in the season of life you're in. It might mean starting a business or something. That might be possible. But for it meant do what you have. Look at the resources God's given you, which is this beautiful family. How do you steward that towards fruitfulness? I remember I was like, I don't even know what to do, but all I know is my little girls can play violin. Let's just go to the senior care center and play violin. I mean, that's part of a family economy. That's bearing fruit,
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just like engage in what God's given you.
And you've got 14 waking hours for those children on any given day. What are you going to do with them? I mean, I think, do we all agree that 8-9 hours of playing computer games is not going to work?
Not fruitful.
That's not fruitful. But you've still got to come up with something. And I believe every family in the inner city, a family in the suburbs, a family out on the farm, it doesn't matter who you are. You have an obligation before God to be sure that you're following through on this. And your sons and your daughters are engaging in an economy. Now, again, not just the business. It could be hospitality. It could be serving the church. It could be, 1,000 other things. And we've done entire conferences on this.
But it's just what you're referring to instead of the individual is a corporate stewardship, I think, of the family and recognizing one another's capability and time and resources. I mean, just yesterday, this just happened. One of my little guys, like 8 years old, he took a pitchfork and it went through a sprinkler line. And so there's this sprinkler fountain in the yard. Well, my 18-year-old son, who's a plumber, comes home and just fixes it. He doesn't go, oh, that's not my problem. It's just the whole family is contributing and working together. That's part of the family economy.
Good example. Yeah. Exactly. And look around and see what's around. And you had an example of this, but here's an example that came to us, is somehow my son ran into somebody in the church who knew something about Safeway, a grocery store outlet that was getting rid of 300 computers for, I think it was $5 a piece. So he took $1,500 of his savings, put it into 300 computers, lined them all up, tested them all out, and eBayed hundreds of computers for $25, $30 a piece, and walked away with the cool $4,000 or $6,000. It was just something out there. It was just there. Sure. It was an opportunity. Something to do. And you know what? I'm not like, we need to make money here. No, we need an opportunity for a 12-year-old boy to do something. And and there are hundreds of these ideas that pop up on any given week, on any given month. Wouldn't you agree, Danny?
Yeah. For us, I would just underscore the importance of the time for the husband and wife to sit down and say, what do we want to characterize our family?
Amen.
Yeah.
That's where it starts for us. And so we're working on getting a more consistent routine of those conversations for us right now. We do these dates on the back deck on Thursday mornings, which are kind of fairly functional in nature. But we're talking through who we're going to have over for dinner in the next couple of weeks.
Hospitality.
We're talking about, okay, what are the projects that we want, Jed and Katie working on around the house? There's parenting and discipleship things, but a lot of it comes down to the fundamental question of, we're here to serve the Lord. What are we going to do?
And having some foresight here, I ran into a young man somewhere in South Africa at one of our homeschool conferences there. And he comes up to me and he says, my wife is pregnant right now with our first child, but I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my 9-year-old? Now, there's a guy who's going the right direction. Yeah. Are you with me? Yeah. Foresight.
Thinking about it.
It's super hard. I mean, you can do this, but it's super hard to start at 14 years of age.
It is.
He's been playing computer games for 12 years.
That is hard.
And now you're going, hey, there's a new sheriff in town. We're doing it all different. Doesn't really work very well. But if you're thinking in terms of where are we going to be 9 or 10 years from now, what kind of a family do we want to be?
Right.
Do we want to be known for hospitality in the church? Do we want to sign up for a candleinthewindow.com? Candleinthewindow.com, where, and we know so many homeschool families, family economy based families who have a special place in their house, and they literally have a calendar and they fill in the calendar on any given year. And they have had hundreds of families, individuals come through a candleinthewindow.com and stay in their homes. So, you're not making a ton of money on this.
It's a blessing.
But you're blessing a lot of folks.
Amen. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think that just to remember, what has God put in front of you at this time, in this season? You might have really young children. You might need to devote more time to, maybe you have your own business, okay? You still have to figure out how the family is going to be engaged and work together. And I would just emphasize, use the gifts. God's given different gifts.
What do you have in your hand?
And abilities, which goes back to your vision. It's like there's going to be things we can do and things we can't do. If we're in downtown Chicago in an urban setting, it's going to be very different than somebody that's maybe in a rural place. Just take all that into account and see what you can do.
And I think what Danny, you talked about getting together and creating the vision. The step before that is a realization that if we don't do something, then nothing's going to happen.
Right.
That we have to redeem this time. We have to organize this time. We have to put our family to the task. And my job as dad is to lead that charge.
It's amazing how individualistically our kids are programmed. It's not just our culture, but everything is just so automatically what's fair and what's not fair. And, I did my 3 chores for the day and, he only did his 2 chores. Right. And so just practically where we're at right now is helping our kids shift that mindset. No, this isn't a transactional thing where we all do our neatly defined slice of the pie. We're here to contribute to the whole. We're here to bless. We're here to love. And this family is only going to work if we lean in and contribute our gifts to serve each other. And then when we have that foundation in place, now we have something where we can start looking outward.
Bill, how did this work in your family when your children were 8, 11, and 12 or 13 years of age? Was this like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Our kids are bored. There's nothing happening in our house. Or was there sort of a natural flow into keeping the children busy in projects and service? How did that work in your family?
Well, I think the first realization came out that, we went to school, and school was, getting on a bus at 7 o'clock in the morning and not coming home till 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So I thought homeschooling was going to take all that time. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I realized that it's not much more than 2 or 3 hours. And so we've got another 5 or 6 to fill in. Yeah. And so work became, what filled in that time. So we had to figure out what to do with the rest of the schedule, I think.
And you had to get a few more acres.
What's that?
You did to get a few more acres eventually.
Yes, yeah.
Just a bigger yard.
Yeah, a little
bigger
agrarian,
house.
A few animals. They worked in the morning, they worked in the evening. And then as we saw that Chad was a little bit more of an entrepreneurial spirit, we had the time and the flexibility to feed that. Mm-hmm. So we started little businesses of lawn care, chickens, whatever, that just kind of grew one after another.
Todd, progress through how it developed in your family through the last 7, 8, 10 years.
Yeah, and like I said, it started, in the corporate world with young children, so looking for ministry opportunities and things like that, but also just being available, a little bit about what you're saying, where in the home can be a place where gifts are exercised, where interests and curiosity to see what's going on. I mean, I can't remember. We eventually were like, Lord, really, we would like a bigger house because we had so many. We had the sewing table station, then we had the carpentry station, then we have like this little welding station. It's like, but this is all good. This is all happening. All these are being worked together so that they can grow up and use these for God's kingdom. And not all of it works out, not all of it stays, but there's that's a good way to start, is just to start engaging in all these different things. Could be animals, but if you don't have access to that, then you find something else to do and find out what you can do together as a family. I think the we aspect of this is very, very important. What are we going to do? What can we do together? Can we go serve this? Can we be hospitable in this way? And then eventually for me, the Lord just brought about opportunities in business to be able to do that. And one thing I love about that is to be able to do that with my children.
We've talked about underburdening the family. What about overburdening the family? Is it possible? And there's some proverbs about a man who stresses out his household, and I'm guessing that's possible. Maybe there's been points at which I can be the high stress dad. Got to get it done. Is it possible, Bill, to overburden the family?
Yes, and I think you're leaning on your wife, who tends to be sometimes the emotional temperature of the home, and will give you the first sign that things are a little bit ragged around the edges, that you might be pushing a bit too hard. At least that's what happens for me, that I notice that if it's getting too much. But she also can help me with it. One thing I was thinking about is that a mistake that a dad will make is, okay, I just did my job, so now I'm coming home and I'm off for the rest of the evening, the old reading the newspaper, watching TV, because I did all my work. You're setting an example of individualistic lifestyle. But at the same time, if dad has an overbearing job and he can find ways, like you mentioned, Todd, where the family can help with it, then he might be able to come home even with more energy.
Yeah. And I think there's a degree to which you have to surrender the efficiency. And modern life is so efficient. I mean, that's the way the modern world does, is, mom and dad both work. We both grab food. We don't make food for ourselves. Yeah. If we're going to have desserts, we're not baking it. Certainly, we're going to go buy the desserts down at the grocery store. But we're certainly going to heat by propane or by gas. We're not going to be cutting up wood and using the wood stove for heat. That's the way the modern world is. My time is worth way more than having to do all this menial labor. But there is a value to becoming a little less efficient. Mm-hmm. And I wonder sometimes if families need to say, we're going to crank down the efficiency level a little bit and we're going to cut up the trees in the backyard as we need to, and we're going to cut them up and split them by hand. In fact, we had this conversation with somebody about I'm a big fan of not buying a splitter, a wood splitter. I'm a big fan of it, partially because once that pine dries, man, it feels so good to come down on a mallet and that thing just explodes. And you can do it. My theory is that if you had like a John Henry up against a mechanical wood splitter, I think a John Henry would beat him.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of...
it's less efficient, but let's do it. Let's be more...
we built this big retention pond and drainage ditch, and the normative thing to do would be to hire a company to do this.
Yeah. Backhoe and all the rest.
We're like, well, let's figure out how to rent the excavator, and I guess we're going to mess it up a few times, but figure it out. But it was definitely like all hands on deck, kind of like this is like the 6-year-old and the 22-year-old. We've all got to figure out how to do this together. And then it's exciting to be able. It was a little inefficient maybe, but wow, relationally, it did things that,
and they're learning stuff
because there was conflict. You get to work through and all that stuff. But I also just say, just dads, remember to affirm your family. Wow, good job, or look what we did together.
Go Team Craig.
Yes, very, very important.
Get the T-shirts too,
because sometimes we forget that as dads. Very important.
Well, let's take a break. When we come back, more practical tips on how to get started. Just how to get started. We want to do more on family economy because this is huge. As I see it, guys, this is bigger than home education. This is bigger than education. This is a much bigger discussion, partially because education takes up 3 hours a day. What do you do with the other 11 hours? So this is huge, and we're going to come back with more in just a moment on family economy.
What happened to the church? We've traded courage for comfort, conviction for compromise. And what once stood strong now feels like jelly. A gelatinous, feel-good faith that demands nothing and offers even less. That's why Kevin Swanson wrote Strong. It's not a soft book. It's not a safe book. To anyone tired of the lukewarm, the flabby, the fake, this is a call to real strength. Strong grace. Strong gospel, strong Savior for those ready to stand firm and strengthen what remains. Grab your copy now at strongthebook.com. That's strongthebook.com. Not for the faint of heart, but for those who know it's time to be strong.
And we are back on Generations, another segment of Discipleship for Dads. And I want to get practical here, gentlemen. How does the average family get started with this vision? How do they develop a family economy if they've never really done it? They've been a fragmented, segregated family for so long, and now they want to reintegrate their family into a family life, into family discipleship, family economy. They want to get on board the vision we've been talking about here for the last 6 months. What do?
The good news is this is God's will for your family, right? And I'm not saying family business is God's will, but family economy is God's will.
Yes,
He said it's biblical.
Yes.
So the first thing to do is to pray. And I see the powerful answer to this prayer worked out in my dad's life and in our family life. When I was 5, my dad was working kind of a corporate job in a ministry context, but working for a boss. And God had laid several years prior to this time the heart of ministry on my dad's life for working with widows and orphans, to the extent that one Christmas, he had us even do a family skit about how a family took in foster children over Christmas. So this desire is brewing in his heart. 2 years later, or a year later, he lost his job. And he was about ready to start a family business offering music services to homeschool families. And the night before that business was supposed to launch, he got a call from a friend of his in a ministry and said, "Hey, Neil, we just had an orphanage launch in Moscow, Russia. Wow. Would you like to go over to Russia with your entire family and work with Russian orphans?" Later that night, he called the advertising company that was going to launch the business and said, "Pull the ad. We have a change of plans." And within a few weeks, our entire family was over in Russia working and serving together working with Russian orphans.
Yeah,
You couldn't have planned that in a million years.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that was God working in my dad's heart, giving him the vision. He prayed, God answered those prayers. But it was an amazing story. And honestly, as I look back at that experience, I think God did more for our family than maybe we did for the orphans. And Dad had, here's the other thing I want to say about him. It wasn't just a mom and dad thing. He thought about how to bring all of us kids into it. My sister, who was 18 at that time, was assigned one of the orphans. My brother, 16, was assigned one of the orphans because kind of a playmate. All the way down to my 13-year-old brother. I didn't have a kid assigned to me at 5, but all that.
But you did have a mom assigned to you.
But I did have a mom assigned to me, and we worked together with those kids for 7 years, and God used that in amazing
sweet.
ways.
That's sweet.
In our family.
You know, I think my father had a similar vision in that he took us to the mission field in Japan and really incorporated us into everything. They were going to send everybody out to boarding schools, but my father said, no, we're going to homeschool the kids. So that was a big part of my dad's vision. But to keep his family with him, we were there passing out tracts. We were there in almost every part of his ministry. When he published the books on creation, evolution, etc., we were the ones licking the stamps and putting them in packages. So my dad very much incorporated us into everything he was doing on the mission field. He just wanted his kids with him. That's a big part of it, is being together and doing stuff together, whether or not it's efficient, whether or not you're yielding amazing fruits.
I think you got to have the buy-in too, and you get that when you include your family. You get the buy-in for when the difficult times come. Everybody has a piece of the pie, and that they're all in on it together.
Did you get buy-in from your children as you went along with the economy?
Yeah, and I think what it does is it does open the door to just not, we do school and then we don't have anything else to do.
And
we don't
how many
play.
boys would love to do something besides school, roughly, percentage-wise?
Yeah, and I always say, I think do something like that is exciting, that is interesting, that's different. I think because it does go back to casting the vision, having a vision that we're going to walk and that we're going to go on, and then giving everyone a role, being intentional and thoughtful about what are your gifts, what can you do, how can you bring even if you're 5, you can do something. There's a role there for you, and I think also just Dad's always thinking about that. I think you were saying off air, like, oh, we got some boxes to break down. Could my 5-year-old do this? I think they could, and always thinking. It's not just you cast one vision and that's it. It's a perpetual thought.
And I know there's a ton of people saying, how do I get some guidance, some direction to get this thing going? And I just went on to generations.org, our site. And my understanding is they just entered this new segment of our store. It's called Family Economics. So if you go to generations.org, I just did, go to store.generations.org, you'll find under books, if you go down to books, there's Kevin Swanson at the top. Who's that guy? But about 6 down, you see Family Economics. I'm going to click on it right now. And if you go to the section on family economics, you'll get, Family Life, Kickstart, One with Everything, which is an excellent presentation from Mike Cheney, who quit his corporate job in Phoenix, Arizona, and started a hot dog stand downtown Denver, which he did for a number of years. And he's already done a bunch of stuff. He still does things with his family and his family economy. But we've got the Family Economics MP3 collection. I think something like 50 presentations of, probably 1,000 ideas on how to structure a family economy and some of the ideas that you'll need to get started. Other resources that you think are important, or other tips that just to wrap this up, I don't want to leave anybody without something to get started on this family economics vision.
What do you have in your hand? What's the gift?
Is that a hammer there?
Yeah, is that a hammer? And then secondly is, what's the need you see? So those 2 questions. What is the gift God has given you, and what is the need that you see?
That's good. A lot of wisdom there.
God is going to providentially bring you things in your life, just like for your dad, like that. And I know a lot of families are entering a season maybe where they're going to have older parents and things like that. Now, it could be a big step of bringing them in your home. That's a big one. But even just the engagement at that age, and this is part of the family economy, just loving the extended family in that way. That could be one aspect. But God will bring the opportunities.
What I like about the story that you told, Danny, about your dad was he was doing something and he was ready to pivot. It wasn't like he was just sitting there waiting for this vision from God to go to Moscow, Russia. He actually was planning to do something else. And And then God came in and said, no, I want you to do this. But it's doing something.
Yeah. Amen.
Very good. Friends, lots of resources at store.generations.org. Just hit the family economics section of it. And by the way, I highly recommend the Fruitful Families in Babylon kit. For $60, you get Family Life, How the World Runs, and the entire Family Economics MP3 collection. So it's all there. If you need some guidance, check it out at store.generations.org. It's our Family Economics collection at our store. And we just scratched the surface on this today. The intention is to come back to the subject, right, Danny?
Yep.
We got to rehit the subject.
Business, and ministry, and
business, ministry, Christian family elder care.
Yep.
We did a whole conference on that. I want to do a section on that as well. So critical, so critical. So more on this, friends. Please stay tuned to this segment of Discipleship for Dads. This is Kevin Swanson with Todd, Bill, and Danny, inviting you back again next time as we continue to lay down a family vision for the next generation.
This has been a production of the Generations Media Network. For more information, go to generations.org/media.